Well, the latest twist and turn has just come about in the proposed and upcoming, maybe, Paramount acquisition of Warner Brothers. You guys will remember that, of course, there's 12 states led by California and New York that brought a lawsuit to try to stop it. They filed an indicia injunction, a temporary restraining order request for the court to stop and prevent Paramount from actually completing its merger with Warner Brothers until the trial. They were successful in doing that. Now, though, we have a trial date. You see, Paramount was asking for a trial in September. However, they didn't get it. It was September or November, one of the two. They didn't get it, as the judge ruled that the trial is going to happen all the way now in 2027 in March. Now, here's the thing. This date is not good for Paramount for a couple of different reasons. Number one, you guys remember, we've talked about it a lot, that when the clock strikes midnight, I believe on September 30th, every day after September 30th that the deal between Paramount and Warner Brothers is not closed, Paramount has to write a $7 million check. I mean, they don't have to actually give it till later, but in essence, they have to write a $7 million check every single day starting on October 1st.
Can I get that?
Can that come to me, please? Can I get a little bit of that Paramount late money? So because, of course, Paramount in their deal with Warner Brothers was, hey, if we don't have this deal closed by October 1st, we're going to give you all this money to the tune of $7 million per day. This trial isn't even starting until March. By the time this trial gets going, Paramount is going to owe the good shareholders of Warner Brothers $1.2 billion. That's what that's going to add up to. But that, guys, isn't even the main problem. That's not the main problem for them with this March 2027 trial date. The problem is this, as we talked about before, the magical date is June 4th. On June 4th, Warner Brothers head David Zaslav manifests the contractual power to say, deals off. And if he does that, Paramount is then contractually obligated to not sign a $7 million check over to Warner Brothers, but a $7 billion breakup check without even doing the breaking up. It can be David Zaslav on June 4th that says, deal's off, it's not me, it's you, get out of here. Oh, and on your way out the door, give me $7 billion.
Bruh.
So Paramount needs to have this whole thing done and wrapped up. But here's the problem with the March deadline, or with the March trial date. This is why Paramount's kind of screwed. Is because this trial is going to go into mid to late March, maybe even early April, not likely, but at least mid to late March. Okay, fine. But after that, it's going to take a little time for the judge to come back with a decision. That will probably be in early to mid-April. That just leaves about 6 weeks until that June drop dead date. So you might be thinking to yourself, John, that sounds like they got time, right? No. Follow the roadmap with me here. So September 30th, that ticking time bomb of $7 million per day starts going off. So that's already costing Paramount unspeakable amounts of money. On March 2nd, the trial date starts. That's when the states, attorney generals, California, New York, and a bunch of other states. By the way, not only the state's lawsuit, but the WGA's lawsuit is running concurrently with it. So that gets started as well. Both cases under the same judge. So that's when it starts. All right. So mid-March, the trial concludes. The judge is saying it's going to be about 12 days, so probably about 2.5 weeks. Then it's going to take a little bit for the final decision and the statement of facts. It's not going to be until late April or maybe even May that the court actually gives its decision. All right. So now we're already in May, maybe. before the court gives its decision. Okay, but early May is still soon enough. What's the problem? Well, here's the problem. This is where it gets really sticky for them. If the decision comes in May and the states win, or if the WGA wins, either of them can win. If either one of them wins, it's over. Game over. But John, Paramount can appeal. Oh, we'll get to that in a second. But if either one of these two win, if either the states win or the WGA wins against Paramount, it's over. Okay, let's say for a second that Paramount not only wins the case against the WGA, but also wins the case with the states. Well, then here's what happens. The states or the WGA can appeal. And that appeal process, guys, 2 to 4 months. 2 to 4 months. Now, I'm not a mathematologist, but 2 to 4 months after May puts them way past the June 4th deadline. Way past the June 4th deadline. So while they're sitting with their thumbs up their asses waiting for an appeal process to get started, June 4th hits the calendar and David Zaslav saunters into the room with a top hat and a cane and says, F off and give me $7 billion. And that's over. It's done. So here's what it'll happen. If, and this is a huge if Paramount wins against the states, and if Paramount wins against the WGA, even if that happens, the immediate thing that's going to happen is both the states and the WGA are going to file for an appeal. And the first thing they'll do in filing for that appeal is file for a stay pending appeal motion. That just means, hey, courts, just like you gave us a temporary restraining order, can you also please give us a stay, meaning that Paramount's not allowed to go ahead with their merger until the appeal is done. And at that point, it's game over. It's game over if the WGA wins. It's game over if the states win. Even if they lose, it's game over if the stay of pending appeal gets granted. But let's say, for example, what happens if Paramount wins against the states, Paramount wins against the WGA, and they win in a motion to stop a stay pending appeal? Let's say they win all of that, which is highly unlikely, but it's possible. It is possible. So let's say that all happens. So before the appeal gets started, Paramount goes ahead and merges with Warner Brothers while they're waiting for the appeal. This brings up a problem known in the business world as unscrambling the eggs. So even without a stay, unscrambling the eggs, after closing is highly risky and difficult. Here's the thing. What unscrambling the eggs means is that once you merge two companies together, it becomes a titanic Herculean feat to try to split them back up again. It will ruin Paramount. If they go ahead, if they win against the states, and if they win against the WGA, and if they win against the motion in the states, and if they win in the motion against the WGA, and if they don't have that stay granted, and they go ahead and merge with Warner Brothers while waiting for the appeal, they put themselves at risk at literally financially ruining themselves if they have to then later, 2 or 3 months later, have to undo the merging. It will financially cripple them. So, and if they don't go ahead and merge while waiting for the appeal, well, then June 4th hits, the termination deadline. Warner Brothers Discovery has the option to opt out and cancel the deal and collect $7 billion. At which point somebody may say, oh, but wait, maybe Warner Brothers doesn't exercise that right to terminate it. Maybe David Zaslav comes in and says, you know what, Paramount, don't worry about it. We're going to give you 2 more months. Here's the problem with that, as pointed out in the Wall Street Journal. At that point, Warner Brothers shareholders sue David Zaslav. So there's not going to be a lot of choice. So guys, when you sit back and look at this cobweb of all these things, all because of the date that the judge set and that June 4th deadline, and having to win not one but two trials. And then if you lose either of them, you're done. And even if you win, now you got to face a stay, which pushes you past, and an appeals process that pushes you way past the June 4th deadline anyway. Their road to victory, which is something I refer to a lot, the road to victory here for Paramount still exists, but it's narrow. It's so very narrow. And I think that's the reason why David Ellison just came out publicly and said, while he's still saying, I am confident we'll win. No, he's not. Because he also said very publicly, we're very open. This is it. He said this. We are very opening to settling this. Of course you are, because that is your only way out. And so at this point, is it game over? No. But there are about 35 different paths this goes down that leads to Paramount's defeat, and maybe one that doesn't. Can they still win? It's yes. Yes, they can. Is it likely? At this point, it's very unlikely. And you guys know that's a big change of tune for me, because I've been saying forever that I think there's going to be compromises made and there's going to be a little bit of give and take. But at the end of the day, Paramount's going to own Warner Brothers. I simply don't believe that anymore. I believed it for a long time. I don't know that I believe it anymore. Anyway, Sean, we've now got this ruling came down that seems just like a detail, the start of a court date. But that court date puts insane amounts of pressure on Paramount and puts their backs against the wall. And I just don't see a lot of ways forward from them here. What is standing out to you the most about this entire convoluted situation? And what do you see as Paramount's potential way out here?
Well, every week, the most stressful time of the week for me is when you give the update on every new obstacle that Paramount is facing. Like, it's just, you just read it off. I'm like, oh dear, this is awful. A month ago, it was all of the different threats, all the different lawsuits. And then the last 2 weeks, it's been just that narrowing window of like, there's just so little they can do to be victorious. There's only a series of bad options and maybe some luck at some point in time. But I, like you said, I just don't see a clean victory in any of this. I don't see a way out of it. No matter what, it goes really bad is what it currently looks like. So I'm sure they're just looking for whatever is the easiest way to have the fewest losses and save as much face as possible. But it just looks like this thing's coming down, falling apart.
You know, I've seen some people in the live chat asking a very reasonable question. It's like, well, wait a minute. Why did Paramount not see this coming? Why would they put themselves in a situation like this? There was a great article that actually came out in Variety this morning where they wrote about that very specific thing. And what they wrote in that article was basically that the Ellisons were under the firm belief that once Trump's Department of Justice and the Trade Commission okayed it, that it would be clear sailing. They really wouldn't be running into any more obstacles, which obviously did not end up being the case here. There was a lot of obstacles still in the way. And again, there is still, by the way, the other little thing in this is that the guy financing all this for the most part, Big Daddy Ellison, he's losing billions of dollars by the day right now. If you're following Oracle, like Oracle has been dropping like a rock lately. I think they said David Ellison or Larry Ellison's personal value has dropped $120 billion in the last 30 days. So, I mean, at what point do you tap out? At what point do you say no more? I don't know. Again, Rob, there is, I want to be very, very, very clear about this. There is still angles here where Paramount may come out of this and have Warner Brothers, whether it's a settlement with the WGA, whether it's that very, very small road getting through the legal process. There is still a way that could happen. I just see it being very improbable at this point. What about this whole thing is standing out to you the most, and what do you think is the ultimate outcome here?
Well, in addition to all of these shenanigans, I keep reading about how our stock market is about to melt down, China syndrome like, because of the the AI. Everyone's gone into AI, which is going to turn out to be the worst investment in the history of American business. So I think that also is out there looming. And I think that, like, look, we have so many powerful forces that are commanding so much capital that are really they are trying to negotiate a lot of stormy financial seas and surf in on the big wave and catch those cheering beachcombers that are like, wow. And I don't even know what that metaphor was supposed to be, but I just think that the it is, I think it's very precarious all the way around. And I think that Oracle, it used to be like, hey, we're going to do this merger. Larry Ellison came in to back his son's play from the very beginning. They thought it was going to be, I think, a much easier process than it has been. And I think that at some point you've got to cut your losses. This has proved to have too many headwinds against it. And again, it's hard for me to say because I know so little about this kind of thing. And in terms of there's elements that I don't even understand that they're trying to grapple with. At this point, I don't even know why you would want to go in with this merger because it's going to be, regardless, so expensive. What's the upside for anybody here? And I don't really understand it. I'd cut and run. But
By the
then
way,
again,
someone in the live chat, and I should address this because I can see why it caused the confusion. Jim was saying, John, the June 1st agreement was put in place for the appeals process, as in, unless the states already have an emergency stay, the deal closes on June 1st. No, what happened was, for those of you who were thinking about this too, when the states were granted the temporary restraining order stopping it, there was going to be another hearing in 2 weeks after that to determine whether it goes into force for the full length. Instead of facing that defeat, Paramount agreed to not close the deal until either the conclusion of the trial or June 1st, whichever comes first. So some people are thinking, oh, that means that Paramount can just close the deal with Warner Brothers on June 1st, regardless of what else is going on. That's not the case. If Paramount wins, or if the WGA wins, then they cannot close the deal on June 1st. That becomes null and void. If Paramount does win against the states and they win their case with the WGA, but either side files for an appeal and then gets a stay in place of the appeal, it doesn't matter about that June 1st date. They won't be allowed to close on that June 1st date. So that June 1st date kind of becomes a catch-all for all other things in absence, but it doesn't come into effect or into force. So the June 1st date is actually really quite irrelevant at this point, unless a lot of dominoes happen to fall in the right order for Paramount that then makes it applicable. But right now it's simply not applicable. And this is another good question because I've seen some other people ask this. John, as Zaza backs out, can Paramount countersue with the claim that the reasons it didn't close by that June date is because of litigation? Ha ha ha! That is a great question, but here's the answer to it. In the contract that gives Warner Brothers the ability to back out on June 4th includes the stipulation of litigation going on. It's actually written into the contract that, hey, if we don't close this deal by June 4th, I'm paraphrasing, even if it's because we're being sued by whatever and the courts are holding it up, that still gives WB the option of backing out on June 4th. Because the reason that's the case is because Paramount was making assurances to Warner Brothers about their ability to close. That's why there's this ticking $7 million fine. They told Warner Brothers shareholders, accept our offer. It'll be smooth sailing. There'll be no problem. We'll be able to close this deal and you'll get your money. We're so confident that if we don't close the deal by September 30th, we'll pay you $7 million a day. Oh, and if we don't close this deal by June 4th, which is ridiculous, you guys can kill the deal, even if the delay is because we're getting sued. So It's a very, very good question, Benji, but the answer to it is because it's already in the contract that allows them to kill the deal because of litigation. So it's a pickle that Paramount finds themselves in. Not a pickle without a lid. They may be able to get out, but we'll see. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about all this? The judge has set a trial date, and it ain't the early date that Paramount was hoping for. It's going to be all the way down into March of 2027, which is going to make it, let's say, extremely difficult for Paramount to get this thing all wrapped up by June 4th and David Zaslav's date when he can cancel the deal and take $7 billion from them. Whatever you guys think is going to happen here, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Guys, we want to take a second and thank a sponsor of today's video, Mars Men. Guys, you know that one of the frustrating things about getting older is realizing that the things that used to come naturally suddenly require a lot more effort. You wake up tired, workouts feel harder, recovery takes longer, and by the middle of the afternoon, your energy and focus can completely disappear. And that's where Mars Men comes in. Mars Men is designed to support healthy testosterone levels, natural energy, and stamina using 8 clinically dosed ingredients. There are absolutely no synthetics or needles, and it's made in the USA and third-party tested. Some men report steadier energy, stronger workouts, and better recovery, and it comes with a 90-day money-back guarantee. For a limited time, our listeners get 50% off for life, plus free shipping and 3 free gifts at mengotomars.com. That's mengotomars.com for 50% off and 3 free gifts when you check out. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support the John Campea Show and tell them we sent you.